Hey guys, I wanted to show the Recolor Artwork tool in Illustrator. So I'm just going to show how to quickly change up colors in this bike illustration I made. So just real quick, I have this whole frame and all the graphics, all the decals grouped together, but some pieces of this frame are strokes, some are fills. So even if I were to just select all the purple or turquoise objects, I can't just change the color of those objects together because some are strokes and some are fills. So what I can do, I can reselect that group. I can go up to this grayscale color wheel, and I can either click that, or I can go to Edit, Edit Colors, Recolor Artwork. So that'll pull up this window that shows all of the colors that are present in my current selection. So right now yellow is activated, but I can just click on this small turquoise box and that will bring the turquoise colors up down here. Now I can just drag through the hue selection, change that color, and if you don't have this hue selection, you might be in RGB by default. You can click this hamburger menu to switch through the different color modes. So I usually keep it in HSB just because it's really easy to check out different hues, and then you can fine tune the saturation once you kind of generally find what you're looking for. So I can change that to kind of a royal blue, but then the purple's kind of weird, so I can grab this purple. I can play around with that. Maybe go neon green. That's kind of weird. What I can do, if I decide I'm not into these colors, I want to start over, I can grab the big bar and drag it straight across to the little bar, and it'll set it back to where it was. So the other thing I can do, maybe I like the colors I have, but I want to see a purple frame with a turquoise decal. So I can do that. There's two ways basically. I can grab the big turquoise bar and drag it to the little purple bar and do the same with the purple. Or what you can actually do is just drag the little box over the other little box and it'll swap those two colors that you're dragging between. So you can just mess around with combinations. Another cool thing that I don't use a ton, but if you're just experimenting with colors, maybe you need some inspiration, if you're hitting some creative block, you can just hit this randomly change color order button and that'll shuffle through. So it's like it's grabbing these little boxes and just randomizing them. So you'll notice white is coming up. Right now it's not added to the color list. That's why there's no white little box here. If you want to add that and change the white to a different color, you can click here, say yes, add it to the color harmony. Now white's there. But maybe you don't want that to be shuffling. You can select the white here and just click this button down here with the line through it, exclude it, and now oh, well, it didn't exclude it from the shuffling, so forget I said that. But you can play around with that. I'm going to hit cancel. Another thing you can do that is good for creative block oftentimes is you can go to edit, and this gives you all of your colors on a color wheel, and then here's your white in the middle. So you can just grab, here's purple, I can just grab this and drag it anywhere. So more saturation is towards the outer edge of the circle. Less saturation is dragging it towards the middle. So I can just mess around with that, let go, and it'll update. Drag it over to orange, see how that looks. Don't like it. So I'll go back, reset it to purple. If I'm kind of liking the color harmony that I have and I want to see if that'll work in any completely different combinations, I can click this chain link and I can link the colors. Now I can drag this and it'll keep the hue locked, but I can change the saturation still. So there's that. Or if I want to keep saturation and everything linked, then I can just drag the color slider and it'll rotate those all together. So you'll go through some really weird, gross combinations, but sometimes you'll land on something that, maybe it's not perfect, but maybe it sparks something. Maybe, this orange and blue is cool, but not into the yellow. So then I can go back to Assign tab. I can click the yellow, and I can start messing with that individually. So yeah, maybe a little baby blue or something. So anyway, it's a really cool way to experiment and find some colors or color combinations that you maybe wouldn't have thought of on your own. The other thing you can do is, so this color palette I have saved into this folder for turquoise, and then I have another folder for navy. So if I go back to Recolor Artwork, I've got these folders on the side here, so I can just click on the navy folder and it'll just push in all of those colors into my active palette. And maybe I don't like this order, so then I'll play around with it some more. I want a navy frame, so I'll swap those. I can swap the graphics if I want a pink logo and yellow stripes or vice versa or whatever. So that gives you a lot of freedom there. The other thing that is amazing with the Recolor Artwork, I'm going to hit OK and submit that. Save changes to swatch group. I didn't think I made changes to the swatch group, but I'm going to go ahead and save it. Oh, I swapped the pink and the navy, so I didn't like that. But anyway, so I'm going to go back to Recolor Artwork. If you're sending this to a paint shop, or if you're making a t-shirt graphic that needs a Pantone color, it can be a huge pain to flip through Pantone books. I mean, hundreds of pages sometimes until you really find the perfect swatch. This can save you a lot of time. I still recommend confirming in a swatch book that it is going to print the way you want it to print, but this will get you close. You can hit this color library button, and what it'll do is it'll take all of your colors here and limit it to whatever you say here. So if you need a Pantone color, go to color books, and I use Pantone solid coated typically, but try and find a match for the book you actually own. And you can see the color slightly shifted. I can now double click on this and it'll show me Pantone 123. I can verify in the color book. Double click on this, it gave me 7673, so I can pull that swatch out and make sure it's right. And if it's not, I can actually type in, if I found a color on the next page maybe that's perfect, then I can type in, let's do 7676 was down there. Then I can select that. Hit OK, and it'll replace that with my new selection. So, I mean, that saves me a ton of time when I need to work with Pantones, just to not have to dig page by page. So the other thing I want to show is patterns, how it works with patterns. So I have this piece of the frame is a clipping mask, so I'm just going to put a big old box in the back of that. There we go. Now I'm going to just put a default Illustrator pattern. So I'll just go to Patterns, Basic Graphics, Textures, and I like this Capsules pattern. So if I open up that pattern swatch, I'm going to change it to brown. So what I can do now, if I want to change that brown, go to Recolor Artwork. So now you see it's added the color from the pattern in with my other colors in the palette. I can either change this color outright and just play around with it some more, or what I will often do is I'll grab this purple, drag it up to replace the brown with the purple, and then I'll just change the saturation and brightness a little bit and get a little bit of a tone, and I hit OK. And what I love about the way Illustrator uses this Recolor Artwork with patterns is I still have my original brown pattern, but it made a copy of it in purple. So if I needed to use that for brown, I don't need to go through and duplicate the brown swatch and then go to the Recolor Artwork. It won't change it, it'll create a new pattern. So if you're cycling through iterations and you just can't decide where you want to land, it'll save each of those versions of the pattern swatch, and then you can go back and reminisce and find your favorite pattern from the ones you were playing around with. So that's it. I feel like I kind of started rambling there, so sorry if this dragged on a little longer than you hoped, but I hope you learned something. I would love for you to tag Level Labs on Instagram with any projects that you're working on. I want to see how you guys are using the Recolor Artwork tool. And yeah, just share this with a friend if you learned something. Thanks for watching, you guys.